Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. These words from Psalm 23:4 are not merely a poetic expression, but a powerful declaration of trust, whispered in trembling breath by those standing on the edge of despair. There are moments in life when the valley feels so deep, so dark, so suffocating, that hope seems like a distant echo. When your soul is weighed down by burdens you can no longer name, when your prayers are dry and your heart aches with the silence of heaven, that is the moment when Psalm 23 becomes your lifeline, not just a psalm, but a prayer of survival. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. These words, simple and steady, are the beginning of a profound journey. To say, "The Lord is my shepherd," is to declare in faith that even when everything falls apart, there is one who is leading you through, not around, not above, but through the valley. The valley might be illness. It might be the loss of someone you love, a broken relationship, financial ruin, depression, anxiety, or fear so paralyzing it makes it hard to breathe. But the shepherd is present. The shepherd sees you. The shepherd knows the path. When we walk through such valleys, our natural instinct is to cry out, "God, where are you?" And yet David, in this sacred psalm, does not say that he is stuck in the valley. He says he is walking through it. There is movement, there is purpose, there is an end. Psalm 23 does not ignore the valley. It acknowledges it. It acknowledges the shadow of death. But it reminds us that the shadow cannot exist without light. Shadows only form when there is light somewhere near, and that light is the presence of God walking beside you. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. This is the rest we long for in the chaos of our lives. It is not a place you always see, but it is promised. It is given, not earned. It is a divine pause when the world refuses to stop. Sometimes you may not know how to rest. Sometimes the worry doesn't let you, but the shepherd leads you. He doesn't drive you. He doesn't shame you for being tired. He sees your exhaustion, your mental battles, your spiritual drought, and he offers green pastures and still waters to renew your soul. When you feel alone, when the weight of your grief is too much to bear, when your mind tells you it's over, this psalm invites you to say, even with a shaky voice, "He restoreth my soul." Not only does he guide you, not only does he protect you, but he restores you, the broken pieces, the worn-out places, the silent cries you've hidden from the world. He sees them all and restores them with love. Restoration doesn't mean life will look like it did before the valley. Sometimes restoration means you emerge stronger, deeper, softer, more aware of the pain of others, more certain of the grace of God. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. There is a purpose even in the pain. We walk through the valley not as punishment, but as part of a greater journey. The paths of righteousness are not always smooth. They are not always lit with joy. Sometimes they lead through heartbreak, sometimes through isolation. But the shepherd's purpose remains. His name is on the line, and because of that, he does not forsake you. Even when you can't see the next step, he is leading you. Even when you feel abandoned, his hand is upon you. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that word "though" is heavy. It implies that it will happen. Not if, but when. All of us will face valleys. No one is exempt. Faith does not erase suffering. It doesn't prevent the valley, but it promises that we will not walk alone. It promises that the darkness is not the end. The shadow might stretch long, the silence might last too many nights, but still, he walks with you. I will fear no evil. How can this be possible? How can you say this when evil feels so near? When betrayal has broken your trust? When violence has shattered your peace? When anxiety grips your chest so tight you can't think straight? You say it not because you feel brave, but because you know who walks beside you. For thou art with me. These are the most intimate words of the psalm. David shifts from speaking about God to speaking to God. He doesn't just declare God is a shepherd, now he says, thou art with me. When you walk through the valley, prayer becomes personal. Theology becomes intimacy. God is no longer a concept. He is a presence. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. These are the tools of the shepherd. The rod protects, the staff guides. One is for defense, the other for direction. God is both your protector and your guide. The rod breaks the enemies that stalk you in the dark. The staff pulls you back when you wander too far. Both are signs of his care, his closeness, his love. In the valley, comfort doesn't come from answers. It comes from presence. It comes from knowing that God has not abandoned you, that even in the darkest night, his hand holds yours. There is a mystery in suffering, and sometimes we ask questions that won't be answered in this life. Why this valley? Why now? Why me? And yet in the asking, in the crying, in the doubting, God is still there. The valley is not evidence of his absence, but an opportunity for deeper communion. When all else is stripped away, health, success, reputation, even friends, what remains is the shepherd who stays, the shepherd who speaks peace over your storms, the shepherd who counts your every tear and knows your every thought. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Even in the valley, God prepares provision. He is not waiting until the valley is over to bless you. He is not holding back his goodness until you have escaped the pain. No, right there, in the presence of your enemies, in the presence of fear, in the presence of grief, God lays a table of peace, a table of strength, a table of comfort and assurance. While others may abandon you, while the world may misunderstand you, God sets a table to say, you are still my beloved. When tears blur your vision, when sleep won't come, when anxiety wraps around you like a chain, this psalm becomes more than words. It becomes your prayer. It becomes your heartbeat. Thou anointest my head with oil. This was a symbol of blessing, of being chosen, of being covered. In ancient times, shepherds would anoint the heads of their sheep to protect them from pests and wounds. God anoints you because he sees what you're going through. The oil is soothing. The oil is healing. The oil is sacred. Even in the valley, you are anointed. My cup runneth over. This is not about material wealth. This is not about escaping suffering. This is about abundance of peace in the storm, abundance of grace in the fire, abundance of hope in the shadows. Even when you think you have nothing left, God pours more strength, more mercy, more love, until your soul, dry and weary, begins to taste joy again. Not because the valley is gone, but because the shepherd is still with you. This is not the end of the journey. The valley is part of the path, but it is not the final destination. And this prayer, this sacred psalm, reminds us again and again, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Not some days, not only on the mountaintops, but all the days. Even the days when you don't feel it. Even the days when grief swallows you whole. Even the days when prayer feels like a whisper into the void. Goodness and mercy are behind you, catching your fall, covering your past, lifting you when you stumble. You are not alone in this valley. The shepherd walks with you. His rod and staff are near. His hand never lets go. And as you keep walking, step by step, tear by tear, there is a promise waiting. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Forever begins even now, not after death, but in this moment, in this valley, with this breath, you are dwelling with God. He is here, he is present, he is enough, even as the shadows stretch long across your path, and your soul grows weary from the weight it carries. You can still whisper this psalm, not as a question, not as a wish, but as a declaration, a promise forged not in comfort, but in trial. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That house is not just a future place. It's a present refuge. It's not defined by walls or ceilings, but by presence. His presence. The shepherd doesn't just meet you at the end of the valley. He walks every step with you, and his house becomes your shelter in the storm, your peace in the chaos, your anchor in the flood. Sometimes, the valley is not one moment of pain, but a season of prolonged endurance. You wake up with the same weight. You go to sleep with the same ache. Your prayers feel like echoes lost in the wind. But Psalm 23 isn't dependent on your feelings. It is truth that holds you even when you can't hold it back. It's a reminder that valleys are real, but so is the shepherd. Darkness is real, but so is the light of his guidance. The pain is real, but so is the restoration he offers. When you pray this psalm, you're not reciting empty words. You are entering into the sacred rhythm of God's heart. The Lord is my shepherd, yours. Not a distant deity, not a cold force, not an idea, but your shepherd. The one who calls you by name. The one who leaves the 99 to come find you when you've wandered too far. The one who knows your wounds and binds them, who knows your fears and silences them with his voice. He is not merely a guide. He is your protector, your defender, your caretaker, and he does not abandon his sheep. Even when your valley is filled with betrayal, friends who've turned their backs, people who misunderstood your intentions, wounds carved not by strangers but by those you trusted, you can still say, "Thou preparest a table before me." God does not need to remove your enemies to bless you. He blesses you right in front of them. He lays out a feast in the middle of your famine. He lifts your head when shame wants to bury it. He calls you beloved when the world calls you broken. And when you feel like you've lost everything, your dreams, your direction, even your faith, he restores your soul. Restoration is not about going back to who you were before the valley. It's about becoming who you were meant to be because of it. The valley changes you. It chisels away at your pride. It strips away illusions. It exposes your need. But it also builds compassion. It births courage. It plants seeds of empathy you couldn't have understood otherwise. And the shepherd is with you through it all. Praying this psalm in the valley is a rebellion against despair. It is choosing hope when hope feels foolish. It is saying, I trust you, not because everything is okay, but because you are with me even when it's not. Every verse becomes a lifeline. He maketh me to lie down. Sometimes you don't know how to stop. You run and strive and perform, hoping your effort will quiet the storm. But God makes you lie down. He knows your need for rest better than you do. He knows when to stop your racing heart, your anxious mind, and lead you to a quiet place, even if it's only inside your soul. Still waters, green pastures, these are not luxuries. These are necessities, and he provides them even when the outside world is chaos. Even when the news is bad, the phone call breaks your heart, the door closes, or the sickness lingers. He leads you. He does not abandon you to find your own way. He doesn't expect you to have the map. He knows the route through the valley because he's walked it before. He knows where the cliffs are, where the wolves wait, and where the path gets narrow, and he never walks too far ahead. He is right beside you. You can pray this psalm when your heart is heavy with grief, when the loss is too great to carry, when the absence of someone you love echoes through every room. Yea, though I walk, you're still walking. You're not buried by it. You may be crawling, you may be limping, but you are moving. And that is grace. That is proof the shepherd is holding you up, even when you can't stand on your own. When anxiety becomes your constant companion, when your thoughts race ahead into every worst-case scenario, when fear tightens around your chest and makes your own breath betray you, you can still say, I will fear no evil. Not because the evil isn't there, but because he is. For thou art with me. That presence is your peace. That presence is your shield. That presence is your lifeline when the world spins out of control. Sometimes we want God to rescue us from the valley, but often He chooses to walk with us through it instead. Because some things can only be learned in the valley. Some trust can only be built in the dark. Some worship can only rise from the ashes. And some prayers, like Psalm 23, are forged in pain, so they carry a power that comfort can never replicate. Thy rod and thy staff, the tools of the shepherd. They may not always feel like comfort. Sometimes they correct. Sometimes they nudge you away from a path you thought was right. Sometimes they block you from something you thought you wanted. But always, they are love. Always, they are protection. Always, they are grace. And the valley becomes holy ground. Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because He is there. The shepherd doesn't shout from the mountaintop, "Hurry up!" He walks at your pace. He waits when you sit down to cry. He speaks in whispers when the silence is too much. He sings over you when you've forgotten your song. He weeps with you, and in that sacred companionship, you find strength. You anoint my head with oil. You are chosen, even in the valley, especially in the valley. Your pain does not disqualify you. Your questions do not offend Him. Your doubts do not drive Him away. He anoints you, not because you've got it all together, but because you're His, because He loves you, because He sees you. My cup runneth over. How can it run over when you feel so empty? Because God doesn't fill your cup with what the world fills it with. He doesn't measure it by your bank account, your health, your achievements, or your applause. He fills it with mercy, with grace, with moments of unexpected peace, with friendships that show up when you least expect them, with a sunrise after a sleepless night, with the steady beat of His faithfulness. And when you reach the place where the valley begins to widen, when the light starts to filter through the trees again, you'll realize that you're not the same. You've changed. You've been carved deeper. You've been drawn closer. You've been held by something stronger than circumstance. You've been kept by the shepherd. And that's why you can say with confidence, not fear, not question, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. Goodness and mercy aren't chasing you because you're perfect. They're following you because the shepherd is good, because mercy is His nature, because He delights in lifting the broken, in restoring the shattered, in using the valley to write stories of grace. You may still be in the valley, but you are not alone, and you are not without hope. The psalm is not finished. The story is still being written. The shepherd is still speaking, and the prayer still rises. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. And as we reach the end of this sacred psalm, we begin to understand that this was never a prayer for perfect circumstances. It is a prayer for unwavering presence, a cry not for a life without valleys, but for a life that finds the shepherd even in the deepest shadows. This is where the power of Psalm 23 reveals its full depth, not as a promise that we won't face hardship, but as a declaration that hardship cannot separate us from the one who loves us endlessly. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. These words are not a wish. They are a guarantee rooted in the very character of God. The Hebrew word used for follow is not passive. It means to pursue, to chase down. Goodness and mercy don't lag behind. They run after you. Even when you are running from God, even when you are lost in shame, even when you feel too broken to be found, goodness and mercy are chasing you, determined to catch up to your pain and pour healing into it. God does not abandon you in your failure. He does not turn His back on you when you fall apart. The valley is not a punishment. It is a passage. It is a place where God proves that His love is not conditional. It is not withdrawn when you are angry or bitter or tired or doubting. His love runs after you when you want to quit, when you scream in frustration, when you sob in silence. Goodness and mercy do not depend on your perfection. They are rooted in His. and he is always faithful. All the days of your life, when you were a child, not yet able to name him, when you were a teenager, trying to find your place, when you were broken in adulthood, when life unraveled, when prayers went unanswered, when dreams died and wounds bled, still, goodness and mercy followed, even in your rebellion, even in your numbness, even in your despair. They were there. They are here, and they will never leave. This psalm is your daily prayer because it is your daily reality. Whether the sun is shining or the rain won't stop, whether you're surrounded by love or drowning in loneliness, whether you feel strong or shattered, this prayer holds. It does not bend under the weight of your pain. It stands. It declares. It reminds you that your story is not over, that the valley is not the final word, that there is a table prepared, anointing given, a cup overflowing, and a shepherd who still calls your name. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What does it mean to dwell? It means to remain, to stay, to be at home, to belong. And in God's house, there is no eviction notice on your worst day. There is no rejection slip when your faith is small. There is no turning away when you bring your grief, your fear, your weariness. The shepherd does not just allow you in, he invites you to stay, forever. Forever doesn't begin when you die. It begins the moment you realize you are not walking alone. The moment you pray this psalm, not as a religious ritual, but as a desperate hope, a trembling truth, a whispered trust. In that moment, forever wraps itself around your broken places and begins the work of making you whole again. Not all at once. Sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always surely. When you walk through the valley, you carry this psalm not in your hands, but in your soul. It becomes your rhythm, your breath, your cry, your comfort. It speaks when you have no words, it weeps with you. It reminds you again and again, you are seen, you are loved, you are not forgotten, you are not beyond repair, you are not too lost to be found, you are not too broken to be healed. In the silence of the night, when no one sees the tears, the shepherd sees. When no one hears the ache in your heart, the shepherd hears. When you feel invisible in the crowd, when your strength is gone, when you don't know how to pray anymore, this psalm prays for you. It lifts you. It carries you. It breathes for you. This is why Psalm 23 is eternal. Why it has been prayed in battlefields and hospital rooms, in funerals and lonely bedrooms, in the arms of the dying and the mouths of the desperate. Because it speaks to the universal ache in all of us, the need to be held, to be guided, to be known, to be loved without condition, without end. And the shepherd does all of that. He lays down his life for his sheep. He walks through every valley with you. He fights off every predator. He binds every wound. He anoints your head when you can't lift it yourself. He fills your cup until it overflows. He prepares tables in the wilderness. He follows you with goodness and mercy. And he promises that you will dwell in his house forever. So pray this psalm every day. Pray it when you wake and the dread rises before your feet touch the floor. Pray it when you don't know how to make it through another day. Pray it when grief makes you forget what joy feels like. Pray it when anxiety clutches your mind like a storm. Pray it when you feel strong, so you don't forget who your strength comes from. Pray it when you are lost, and let it guide you home. Let every word fall into your soul like rain on dry ground. Let it soak into your bones. Let it anchor you. Let it be the melody you hum in the dark, the verse you cling to when hope seems far. Let it rise in you until you believe again, not just in the shepherd, but in the truth that he is with you now and forever. The Lord is your shepherd. You shall not want. He makes you lie down. He leads you. He restores you. He walks with you through every shadow. He comforts you. He prepares a feast for you. He anoints you. He fills your cup. He sends goodness and mercy to chase you. And he welcomes you into his house, not as a guest, but as family. You may be in the valley now, but you are not alone. You may be tired, but the shepherd never sleeps. You may be afraid, but his rod and staff are near. You may feel forgotten, but he knows your name. You may feel broken, but he is still the God who restores. You may feel like the journey will never end, but the promise still stands. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, forever. Amen.